Insane in the membrane.
Hello and welcome to Insane in the Membrane with me, Rich Wilson. And this week I'm joined by brilliant comedian and my good friend, Mr. Dan Evans. Hello, Dan.
Hey Rich, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm a little bit red-faced, but other than that, yeah.
What have you been? Is this because you've been running or yoga or whatever else it is that you do?
It might be more wine than that, you know.
This time of the day.
Well, no, but you lived in Brighton. You know that
Yes.
the off licenses are just open all the time, aren't they? So if you get a weakness, it's that's a good start, isn't it?
No, it was. I do. Where we lived in Brighton, we were living at Montpellier Road, just up from Waitrose.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, if you all you had to do was come out your flat and turn left, and there would be like 6 off licenses at any time of the night.
Yeah,
You'd be ready
Christmas
to go.
Day, whatever. Yeah.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. And the amount of times that Kate and I would pop out and go, "Look, we need to go and get some shopping." And we walk into Waitrose and go, "Do you fancy a pint?"
Yes,
yeah.
it's true. There's one within a stone's throw of my house. It's a hill. That's the only thing that sometimes puts me off is the climbing up from easy hours.
Oh yeah. This is one of the things I didn't realise about Brighton until I moved there. Is it's on a hill. Everything's on a hill.
Oh God, yeah.
It's
It's like buttocks, isn't it? The cleft being the bit where the church and the pier are, the main roads coming in.
yeah.
So there's the east buttock, and you would have been on the west buttock, being in Montpellier.
Yes.
Which is actually Montpellier, they pronounce.
Was it Montpellier? I do apologise.
Yeah. And we're in Hanover, so that's like the east buttock.
Oh, very nice.
Well, it's all right. It's this kind of middle class slum, I think. It's damp patches all round.
But that's something else as well. The damp and the mold. Like we had to get a guy in to come and because we were like this flat is just the flat we're in now has just been decorated and done. It got gutted and then done again. But we were like everything's green. And he went, well, yeah. He goes, where you live is a damp corner of the building, and you live by the sea, so it's going to be.
Yes, There's no way around it. I don't know what. I just have to sort of move furniture in front of the worst bits, don't you? Really. Though I will say, if you use any black mold spray, which is available everywhere, be very careful to keep it off clothes, because I used it quite to sort a problem out, and it really bleaches stuff on contact.
Oh God, yeah.
Until it's sort of ruined the duvet cover.
I did it with I did it without gloves, and so just went to a gig, and I'm on stage, and I could just smell bleach as I was on talking about whatever shit I was talking about.
You've got to be careful. You only get one pair of hands, Rich.
This is true. This is very true, Dan. So, Dan, are you from Brighton?
No, we've been here about 20 years.
Yeah.
But then London before that, and then I'm originally from a little village just north of Cambridge.
Okay.
And I just sort of drifted down. I can't really remember I went to college. That was it. I went to Kingston College. Might have been Kingston Poly back then, Rich. It was that long ago.
I think it might have been, if I remember rightly. Yeah.
And I kind of ballsed it up, and then
did you?
Just was drifting around. Yeah. It was. I only really went. I realised when you realise things afterwards that I only really went there because I knew someone else from my school who was going there, and I thought, oh, I know Dave. That'll make it. I'll commit to a 7-year course because I know Dave, who I've not seen for 15 years now. It's like, but I think without taking a year off, that's the sort of decision-making process, isn't it? When you're 19 or whatever, you go, oh, I know Dave. I'll go there.
Yeah.
This was a different time, a very different time when you could go to college and get paid to go, and
That's right.
God knows what you do now. I feel very sorry for people who can just sort of build up these colossal debts that are going to stamp all over them for the rest of their lives.
I know.
And I threw it all away. I had it for nothing, and I threw it all away. I feel like I owe a current student. I should finance them through college.
Well, I do remember when I was going to my secondary school, and my mum and dad said, "Oh, we're going to send you to this whatever school it was. It was a really good school." And I kicked up such a fuss because I didn't want to go because none of my friends were going. And I was like, no, I want to go to this school. And it was just a shit comprehensive. It wasn't. This other one would have put me on a different trajectory, sent me somewhere else. But
We
'Cause all
could
my
be
friends
doing
are
the
going.
same show, but you'd be wearing a cravat.
I do
would
wear
be the
cravats, you know I
difference.
do.
Oh yeah. I thought it was more bandana. Oh no, you do actually. It's a sort of. Where was that then? Was that southeast London? I'd say.
Yeah, it was sort of Kent, southeast London border. It was like
Yeah.
Orpington in Kent, near Bromley, is where I grew
Mm,
up. And
yeah.
so yeah, one end, like Josie Long comes from the better end, and I'm
Okay.
from down the other end. But literally just because I chose the school that I went to. Otherwise,
Yeah, but you're a very gregarious bloke, aren't you? You wouldn't want to go somewhere you didn't know anybody. That's really
true.
important at that age, isn't it? Is like,
I think it
do I
is.
know people?
Yeah, I think it would have
Yeah.
been. I think it would. Yeah, at that age, it would have been a tricky one. Going somewhere where you don't know anybody. Awfulness. Absolutely. Like being in a green room when you're a new comic.
Oh yeah. This yes, and it's funny because I think you kind of know that now, and often that's that thing where somebody's trying to crack jokes at whatever anybody's saying, and you go, "No, we're just having a conversation here."
Yes.
Your new comic, ease up a bit, back off. But yes, it's especially before you've been on and you haven't established that you're perhaps any good or not. That's the worst thing, is that people doesn't necessarily want to know whether they want to be friendly with you in case it's a waste of time.
Yes. There's. I think it is that you do. Yeah, you have a, and then you're trying because this. I think it might be different now, but certainly when I started, a lot of the older comics were a bit more standoffish. You kind of had to earn your place.
Standoff
A little.
comedy, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I suppose it's that sort of silly mind games that I suppose a lot of blokes play all the time, where if you hold back and you're a bit quiet, that's quite high status, isn't it? And all those sort of games going on, isn't it? And I suppose the job itself is quite a lot like that anyway, isn't it? Really, just sort of slightly.
I've always fancied being a bit more aloof. Like you see these like cool people in films, and
it doesn't work for you because you
no
you smile too much and you like to talk, and I'm just too neurotic. I always think that when I meet somebody, and they let the conversation hang, and I'm always the one who fills, which is a sign of somebody who's quite neurotic. Whereas there's some acts, I won't name any names, but they would say nothing, and I'd end up just going, "Oh, what are you up to?" And and it's very. It's very sort of like that, But I think at this age, you can't really change what you are,
No, I think you're right though. It is that I am eager to please, and I don't like. I always take. I take responsibility if there's a silence. I'm like, it's my fault. This is shit.
Totally.
It's my fault.
Yeah,
and not because the other person might not be giving. They might not be. They might not be being very generous conversationally. But I'll take the blame.
There's another thing as well, isn't there? I can't remember it's some kind of. I can't remember what the name of what it is. But if you step outside the situation and go, yeah, but even though I know they're sitting there not saying anything, I've assumed, it's my assumption that they're playing it cool and being aloof. But inside their mind, they might be thinking, I've got nothing to say to this guy. What do I do? What do I say? They might be having much more. It's just the way they're not expressing their neuroses, or they might be going, "Oh God, I'm talking to Dan Evans. Is amazing. I don't know what to say. I'm so tongue-tied."
Do you know what? I will say this. And I mean this genuinely. I remember, and I spoke about this to someone a couple of weeks ago. I bumped into you in a Costa in Brighton a few years ago, and
I think, yeah.
You were I think you were in there doing some writing or whatever, and I was doing Comedia. And you were like, "Oh, Rich," and I was like, "Ah, mate," and you were like, "Yeah," and we sat down talking, and then you ran some material past me, and I went to the gig.
To do that.
No, it's brilliant because I went to the gig going, "Fucking hell, Dan Evans just like ran some material."
What was the joke? What was the joke?
And I'll tell you the joke.
Oh, okay.
Because now it's become a joke that people seem to think is just in the ether. And whenever I hear someone say it, I'm like, I always say that's Dan Evans' joke.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I hope it's good.
It's good. And people listening to this will go, "Oh, yeah, that's just become a common phrase now." But I remember you said to me about you're at the age now where you don't fall over, you have a fall.
Oh, yeah. I've stopped doing that. Actually, I haven't done that for ages now. I don't know why it stopped. I think I came up with more miserable "I'm getting old" material, and there wasn't room for it.
But I
Oh, well,
credit
that's nice.
it. I credit you with coming up with that, and now it's become a thing. I've seen actors say it. I've seen people on things say it. I've heard people say it in life, and I'm like, yeah, Dan Evans came up with that. That's a Dan
Oh, well, I
Evans
hope
joke.
that's yeah.
Yeah,
It's about. I think it's about 2008. That one.
it would have been. And so
Yeah.
I would have only been 4 years in to comedy when that happened.
When you had the hair, didn't you? The Lego hair then.
I had the Lego hair. Yeah. So it's
Which was a very smart move because apparently to get anywhere in kind of public life, you need a recognizable silhouette. So
that's
Mickey
true.
Mouse is the extreme example. But
Yes, that
Lego
is
hair
true.
is a good one. Yeah.
Well, now I say I look like a coked up Santa. Just gone the other way. So you mentioned
Nice to
being
have the
quite.
options.
It's nice. You mentioned sort of being neurotic, and do you think would you say that about yourself? That you're
Yeah,
quite a
definitely.
neurotic
And in a
person?
way, I mean, in a way, it's almost performing is almost it's both the worst thing you can do if you're neurotic, but also inevitable, isn't it? Because you're seeking approval all the time and everything. But yes, I think the reason why I tend to do kind of jokes is I just haven't got the confidence to invest a couple of minutes and think that people would still be interested by the end. Do you know what I mean? Which is that's the only reason I like. Obviously, I like jokes, but also when I hear a good raconteur or something, I think it's absolutely great. But I just don't because I am neurotic. I couldn't wait to know whether the approval was going to come or not. I just have no idea how I'm doing unless there's the sort of laugh noise or lack of it. I remember doing a storytelling night once. And the vibe was so different, and I just had no idea how it was going, and still don't really. So yes, I would say I'm. I've not done all these online tests, but yes, I'd say I'm at the neurotic end of neurotic. Yes.
But do you find so? How did you become a comedian? Did that become? But with growing up like that, because it's like me. I say this all the time. I'm fundamentally a shy person. So when I really think about me being a stand-up comic, I can't fathom how I came to be.
Yes, it is odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was a lucky time for me because I knew a couple of people who started doing it about 9 months before I decided to, and I was living in North London, like Zone 2 North London, signing on, which you could do back in the sort of 90s. That wasn't inconceivable, was it? And I thought it's awful, but I thought apart from thinking it'd be quite fun, I thought, if I could get a couple of these gigs a week, I could sort of bumble along and live here and see what happens. I don't think it was anything more profound than that.
No.
But once you do it half dozen times, you're kind of hooked, aren't you? And that's,
Yes.
Definitely. And also back then, most of the nights back then, you'd be on an act. Now it seems like if you're a new act, everyone's a new act on that night. Whereas you probably remember in those days, they had a dedicated 5 minutes for the new act.
They did,
so
yes.
You met better acts and you saw things, how things could be. And so I think you just get lured in.
Yeah, there's definitely you can't help it. There is that thing about you're on the conveyor belt now, and you suddenly and you don't even realize it. Suddenly you're I want to do this again. I enjoyed gigging with those people. I'd like to gig with those people again. How do I do that? So you work on your craft and you try and get to those gigs with the experienced comedians and then suddenly. We're thrust now. I'll be 20 years next year. And now it's changed so much again, where we're now into a new era of having to do podcasts and put clips up and do all these other things. But it's still part of the being on the conveyor belt. It's all still part of it that you go, if you really thought about it, you go, fuck, oh yeah, shit, I've spent all this time chasing after these things.
Well, I'm guessing you probably, but did you ever have a conventional job?
I did, yeah. I started late, so I had all manner of jobs. Yeah.
The fact you said all manner of implies that
so many.
You weren't weren't committed in, well, because I failed my sort of the second half of my course. I ended up just working in kind of architectural offices and really phoning it in and really not. And I remember when I gave up, I was in some office in Ewell and the work was drying up for the office and there were three of us colouring in this drawing. And I thought, this is absurd. And I went in and just saw, because obviously one of us was going to get the chop at some point. I couldn't bear the sort of, dangling sword aspect. I went and said, look, there clearly isn't enough work here. So I stopped then. Yeah. So yes. But I don't respond well to having to be somewhere at the same time every day and all that sort of thing.
No.
And after the other thing that happens, Rich, I'm sure you find this, is now, because you get trapped in something for a certain amount of time, there's nothing else I could conceivably do that wouldn't be either related to it or minimum wage.
Yeah.
If I stop now, I haven't got any skills that are relevant anymore. The best I could hope for, I think, would be working in a cinema and maybe stealing a lot of the sweets and things and perhaps... hiding in the room so I didn't have to do too much work, but that's not very ambitious. So I think we become out of the loop so much that there's no longer, we can't re-enter the workforce, can we?
No, you definitely, yeah. Unless it's something sort of like an adjacent kind of creative thing,
like
you said,
inspiring
cinema
an office or something like that.
Yeah.
Or something like motivational speaking or some kind of weird corporate-y thing where they think that you can improve their communication skills or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I could do anything. We do become unemployable. And I think as comedians, and I'm not saying we're better than anybody else, but I suppose because we analyze everything a bit more. Do you know what I mean? This sounds really arrogant.
But the subtext of that is, I am saying that we're better than everyone else.
No, what I mean is, it's because we analyze everything, so we kind of there's no way that I could have just some dude that trying to tell me what to do. Maybe it's an age thing as well. When he was going like, "Oh, I need you to mop that floor, I'll do that," and I'd be like, "No. I don't want to." I don't know. That's a terrible example. I just think that, I don't know.
No, I think you're right. And also, I suppose, I think we're both a bit on the neurotic side. It means you analyze things like interactions rather than just bumping into someone having a conversation. You then might spend a bit of time afterwards going, "Well, they said that. What do they mean by that?
Yeah.
And did I say? Oh, I can't believe I said that." And I make loads of stupid errors, which I then have to apologise for subsequently. Even last night, I won't mention any names, I went out for a drink with a couple of acts, and one of them said she was a bit late, she was just having some pasta, and and I ended up, I've got some little photos in my phone, and sometimes I do those instead of thumbs up.
Yeah.
So I've got a little one of an aeroplane with a dog's head on it for some reason that I made up, and there's also one of a manatee, which is like a big sea cow thing. And I pressed that thinking, oh, that's better than a thumbs up. But then reading it back, it's kind of going,
no.
I'm just going to be late. I'm having some pasta. And then so I arrive and I immediately have to go, I didn't mean anything about the manatee, It was just like a stupid thing to do. What is a fat animal? So I didn't mean anything by it, but it just...
No.
So I just had to apologise for it,
Oh, mate.
Yes.
We've all done it. We've all done things. I've said things, and suddenly I've gone, "Oh no, that's not what I meant. That doesn't. Oh shit, they're not going to take it in the."
And when you try and dig yourself out of it, it just sounds like, even worse. I think I'd probably do one of those every third social occasion. I do something that I kind of feel like I have to apologise for afterwards. Not even drunk or anything. I just kind of go, "No, that was a stupid thing to say." Sometimes it's really tempting because it's quite an amusing thing to say. So you say it despite the fact that it clearly isn't a good thing to say.
I just want everyone to know that my intentions are pure. I don't mean to upset anyone, but sometimes I'll blurt stuff out, and then afterwards I'm like, "Oh shit, that was a bit much."
Yes, that happens on stage as well, though, doesn't it? As well, where because the way to get sort of if you're it's a good night and you're flying a bit, then you've taken all the brakes off, haven't you?
Yeah.
And so that includes the should I say that editor. So,
Yeah.
I've said some
Yeah.
terrible things that have just popped into my head on stage and really regretted it afterwards. But, it's out there then, isn't it? But I hate to think that somebody would film it and then take it in isolation.
I did
Go, what a
one.
monster.
Oh God, I did one last week before, and there was a couple in the front row, and I said, "Oh, you two a couple?" And they sort of went. They went. She went, absolutely not. I went, "Oh, right, okay, so you're just mates." And they went, "No, not really." And I went, and then he said, "No, and she went, he's my boss." I went, "Oh, this is a work thing." So yeah, we're just out. I went, "Oh, you're out with the boss?" And I went, "Oh," and I stupidly said something shit and then said, "Oh, enjoy your promotion." And then I meant because they're out together, they're building a friendship and a connection.
Yeah.
I
But
meant
the implication is, yes.
Yeah, implication is well done. And I did say at the time, "Oh shit, I'm really sorry. That was so misogynistic of me and sexist. It's not what I meant. I'm really sorry." And then I said, I'm only joking. I mean, you can make anything sound better if you go, "I'm only joking." And
yes,
it was
that's
awful.
the way to do it. Yeah. Now, I remember a thing I said. It was actually based on a story that a friend had told me about his landlord. But I was speaking to a couple. That gig in Northampton that I do sort of. Except it's actually off for the time being because of that aerated concrete business. But anyway,
really?
that's not. Yeah, but I was talking to a couple, and the bloke was a lot rougher than the woman, and I was speculating as to how they'd come together, and I just didn't think what I was saying, and I basically said, my guess is that he was fitting your kitchen when you were married. You had an affair. You got divorced, and your husband got the house. But every time he makes a sandwich, he knows you've both fucked on the worktop that he's making the sandwich on. And I thought, and they took it very well. But you kind of go, if it wasn't a stage context, some of these comments would get you a smack in the mouth, wouldn't they? And rightly so.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You imagine you've just chatted to someone in a pub and just said that.
Yeah. Yes, they just go. Yeah, and it seems to be. I suppose we're given a bit of license to be joke rude, isn't it? Because it's never it's only always tongue in cheek rude, isn't it? It's never sort of which I think is the thing that makes the difference, isn't it?
There is an element of yes, a kind of as I've said things, I do smirk a bit, so people know I'm joking, or I think
there's a
smirk.
twinkle in your eye.
Yes.
Yeah. I often also as well. I think if you've been doing this for a while, most acts are not low status in their performing skills or their, where they are in the pecking order, but they'll have plenty of jokes at their expense.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sure you have things where you're ridiculous. So in a way that gives you permission to be a little bit mocking of other people because you're also mocking yourself, aren't you? And
yes. Yeah. I think that's how, but there was that that self-deprecation that it kind of cushions out all of the shit stuff I say. Because I go, I'll say like, well, that's a shit shirt. I've got a shit shirt on as well. I don't know. It's, what I like about actually, I always find what's funnier is when I'm telling a story, I'm the butt of the joke. I'm the punchline. It's like, I didn't, the guy, there's a couple of things I say and the person came back with the witty retort. And that's always, I feel is always funny. I see a few people and they're talking about something happened and then they came back with the witty thing, the witty comeback.
They won it. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't.
You sometimes see that with acts as well, where, and you've got somebody in the audience responds to a question of theirs and in a very witty way. And the best thing to do is rather than try and stamp on it, is to, apart from that, you get half a minute out of acknowledging it. Let Embrace them have the laugh. It shows. I remember once I was opening, I think, Birmingham Jongleurs. And at the time, I had a line which said that I lost my virginity in whatever town I was doing the gig in. So I said, I actually lost my virginity in Birmingham. This voice just came out of the darkness and went, easy, innit? And the whole room erupted, and I just bowed, and I didn't try and beat it because it was brilliant. He tried a bit later with something and it didn't work, but it was just so nice, and it made it feel more like a. I think it's the first thing I first noticed with Ross Noble is when you suddenly go, oh, he's not like performing at them. It's a big fun thing,
Yeah.
And something like Russell Hicks, where they happily engaging with the audience who are asking any number of stupid questions and they're taking it seriously and it's all fun. It's like a gang, rather than that sort of silly adversarial thing, which I think never really applied, or in a small way,
especially when I'm emceeing, it's always about I'm on the side of the audience. Like, we are going to have a really good time tonight. These are some of the best acts you're going to see. We are going to have such a great time. Everyone, and you kind of like got your arm around them all, going, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's have a good time." And I prefer that. Yeah. But there's when you do it, when you win the argument in your stuff, is that one is the I'm not going to do it because I won't do it justice. But the one about burying yourself in it, wearing a suit of armor. And so yours is
just so stupid.
Yeah, so yours is surreal and absurd, and I like that.
But I have a lot of points in what I do where I am clearly hugely inadequate in some way. I don't know whether that reflects something in my life, but I don't have any jokes where I come out of it well. Actually, thinking about it, they're all. I even have a couple of jokes about having really bad hemorrhoids that I occasionally do, and I've never had a hemorrhoid in my life. But it's like,
oh really?
No, never. I guess it's. I mean, I have very good a lot of fruit and veg.
I think you must.
This isn't really what the podcast is about. Is
no. It's all mental.
Don't
health,
ask me. I know there's a video. Don't ask me to prove it. That's all I'm saying.
And then he got his hoop out. It was bizarre.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Well done. I'm glad because I have had recently, and I don't wish them upon anybody. They are
I hear they can
awful.
Be. Yeah.
It's like having a toothache. It's that kind of. I just want to chop my head off. When you get a hemorrhoid, you just want to scoop your arsehole out.
Well, I mean, if you don't knock it till you tried it, I suppose, see whether that works.
But you do yoga and things, don't you?
No, I don't.
Do you
that
not?
picture on my.
I thought it was
put
you.
A picture on my website. No. I was stumbled on Google Images. Someone who looks just like me because the face isn't showing in an impossible yoga knot, and I thought, I'm having that. I had to Photoshop a tattoo out of it, but I thought that looked so much like me.
It did look like you.
If I got in that position now, I wouldn't be able to get out of it without assistance. It's just amazing. So I can't.
I couldn't even see where he began and where he'd finished. Like it just.
No, he was just I
thought that was you.
Just awful. No. I mean, I do exercise quite a lot for mental stability, and I think that's probably over the years something that's provided. I think part of the problem in what we do is the only structure in your day. Obviously, you might have a gig to go to, but it's up to you to kind of build a pretend structure in a way to make your life make sense, isn't it? So
yes.
If I have a gig, if I get a chance, I'll go for a swim beforehand because I've got a membership of a place with lots of what's-its. And that gives a bit of focus to it. So I'll set off early. I'll try and do a little bit of work when I get to the gym. That makes me kind of gets rid of excess anxiety and makes me feel more. I even do things like the clothes I'm going to perform in. I generally put them on at the gig just because then it feels like
I've seen you do that. Yeah,
I'm doing something. Yeah. It's even though they're not a great deal different from the ones I wear otherwise, but it's a bit like I suppose if you're working at home, going out for a walk and then coming back in and going, I'm at work now.
Yeah,
just little structural things during the day to sort of make it because there's nobody else providing it. You kind of have to build it, even if it's a bit fake. I think that's quite a good thing to do.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And there's been a few times because I'm a member of Pure Gym and they've got loads of those up and down the country. So I'll go to the gym and then have a shower and then go to the gig. And I always have a better gig when I've done that because it
also shakes off.
down.
You've had some terrible journey. It just shakes all that off, and you kind of go, Oh no, I'm sort of starting from scratch again. Today it's sort of,
Yeah.
and also it makes the gig a tiny bit less, because if that's the only thing you're doing that day, it can have a disproportionate effect on your self-esteem, kind of, because you kind of go, it's all about whether you did well at the gig or not. Whereas
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
you've also exercised, you can go, yeah, I did that as well.
Yeah.
It's less a problem. I went through a stage where I was cycling. I cycled to a few gigs that were about 50 miles away. It was in the summer. This is about 3 or 4 years ago.
Not on your
And,
fold-up bike. You had a fold-up bike.
No, God, no, I'm not on that. If I don't have to ride that, I won't, because it's like it isn't as efficient. But and that was good fun as well. Except during the gig, I found my arm with the microphone the muscle would be tightening up like this, and and all my calves would be tightening up and everything. It was that was a bit much. But I think all those things, and also I think people develop them even whether they realise them, in terms of if you're performing or just normally. You kind of as you get older, you go, I know my coffee limit, I know my sugar limit before things go wrong.
Yes.
I know if I get too pissed, the next day's a write-off. So you try to do all these management things, don't you?
Absolutely.
And I think that's sort of totally valid.
I think that's it. It's only been very recently that I've taken on I've actually realised the importance of being organised. What we do, you have to be organised, and I didn't realise that I've spent nearly 20 years doing this in absolute chaos. And so I've got somebody that books things, and I've just not been organised before.
But that's partly you. But also, you wouldn't be you and doing what you do if you had been super organised, would you?
No.
So it's part of what you are, But having said that, you've got to draw the line somewhere, haven't you? And that just means just checking out train times. That's a start, isn't it?
Do you know what? especially now living on the south coast, just the amount of times you go.
It's gone to pieces, Rich. It's gone to pieces. The train. I don't know what it's like for Worthing. Is it the same line as we have? It is, isn't it?
It's the Victoria.
It curves off at Hove, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where literally, when was it? Monday. I went out into town to go and watch this thing, and Kate had said to me, check the times, and I went, I've checked them, and the last train was at just gone midnight back to Worthing from Victoria. And then I went to leave. I was having a drink with some mates, and I was like, I was just going to double check. And I checked again, and there were no trains. The trains had they'd gone. Oh no, those trains have gone now. And so I had to kind of zigzag my way back to try and get back. So as much as I love living down here, I don't know how anyone leaves or comes.
No, it's got worse. It used to be like 10 years ago plus. It seemed to work pretty well, but I had a massive. I was in London earlier this year, and I took my normal size bike up because I was going somewhere at the other end, and I came back, and the train said it's stopping at Three Bridges, and that's it. It's a bus service now. So I went there, and the guy said, you can't get on the bus with that bike. And I was just arguing with him. I was drunk, and I was shouting at him. And then in the end, I got on the bike, and I started cycling towards Brighton, which is about 25 miles away, I suppose. And I got about a mile, and I thought, what am I doing? It's pitch dark. I can't see anything. I've got no lights. I'm going to So I just paid 35 quid for a cab, which is like,
oh my God.
But that's that's what, if you, it was either that or go insane or, throw the bike away.
You don't realise, I mean, it's all very well cycling, but if you don't do it all the time, I did it. I cycled from East London to Southend one morning when I was working in between the lockdowns. I was working for SOS Clothing, and I thought, I'm going to cycle there this morning. So I left at, I don't know what it was, like 7 in the morning. I didn't get there till like 11. It took me so long.
No, that's not a bad ride, That's pretty
horrible.
But Worthing, Worthing Brighton, that's a great little easy flat route between the two places. I hope you cycle into Brighton.
No, I've just picked up my bike actually, so I'm going to start doing that. Yeah, because my gym is still in Brighton. Because I love Brighton, I want to be still
London
connected.
Road, is it, or
North Road? Is it up by the?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, where the LA Fitness used to be, isn't it?
Yes, it's there. So that's why I do. But
there used to be a small swimming pool underneath the main bit.
Did there?
So there. Yeah, I think so.
do
The
with
bit
that,
you'd see
nice.
through the glass from the street. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. They could do with
Well,
that.
it's that
But
probably a good point for me to mention.
go
I
on.
have David Lloyd membership. It's important that the website, the podcast knows that because it's quite high status. I
David Lloyd
try to get
is.
my platinum card. Well, I try to get my platinum card to fall out at gigs, but so far it's always looked rather clumsy.
Just say sellotape it to your forehead and don't mention it.
Yes.
Someone's doing well, David Lloyd. All right.
Well, no, I think the thing is, it's really is if it's good for your brain, you know, it's expensive. It's a silly, in a way, it's a silly luxury. But then again, I've got Now TV subscription. I just remembered, and I haven't looked at anything on that for over a year. So
Oh wow.
there's so many things. Well, I think modern life's a little bit sometimes like with all these sort of little things going out of your account. A bit like when an animal has ticks. It can support a certain number of ticks sucking blood out of it. But there comes a point where you've got so many ticks that you're losing so much blood that you end up just collapsing. So
That's
it's just
true.
being the right side of that.
I had to go through my accounts very recently and go, why am I still paying for that? Didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
Just money vanishing. And it's not like I've got pots of it.
No, it's so boring though, isn't it? That's the reason why you let it happen, is because it's like after about 20 minutes, you just want to kill yourself with the boredom of it, don't you? So there's all these things just constantly. Have you escaped I suppose the other sort of mental crisis thing around here is the parking permit stuff. I suppose you don't get that in Worthing, do you? But it's just gone nuts.
No, but we had it because we had a permit, but then you couldn't park anyway. There was either building work going on or there was just nowhere to park. And it just became absurd. And it's so expensive. What annoys me about that is that they put these parking restrictions in to stop people that don't live there parking there. But then rather than just having your number plate on a list and they go, oh, you live there, so you can park there, you have to buy a permit. And you go, this isn't about being able to park outside your house. This is just about making money. It's literally about making money because they don't care if you can park outside your house or not, really.
I think it's become, in certain towns, I think Brighton included, it's become part of how things are funded. So they've got themselves in a bind now. They can't back out because stuff relies on it, the expense of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so expensive.
Yes, especially for little self-employed us, isn't it? When you've got enough, everything else is going up as well.
Well, we've got a car park with the flat, but because Kate and I we've got a car each, and we were like, well, we don't take.
That's your version. That's your version of me doing the platinum David Lloyd card, isn't it? Making sure that we know that you're a 2-car household. That was very smoothly done. I can't compete with that.
Yeah, well, my car was only $1,000. It was $1,000 off Facebook Marketplace. Oh. It's not. Yeah. And he said, I turn up at gigs, or I've picked people up to take them to gigs. And they'll go, oh, it's a convertible. I'll go, yeah, but it leaks. It leaks like a tea strainer. That's what you don't understand. Although it is nice in the summer when Gareth Much and I did a gig we were in Sheffield, and we drove to the gig, and I had a Hawaiian shirt on and a cap, and we looked like Fear and Loathing. Brilliant.
Oh, lovely.
So Thelma and Louise. Yeah. So it was worth it for that. It was worth it just for that.
Yeah.
But exercise, and I've said this loads, even if it's just going for a walk, is so important. And you don't realise the benefits of just getting out for a minute. Just
walking. I think the morning sun as well. If you do it morning sun-wise,
lovely.
That really helps. I think the problem with it is people don't, because it doesn't feel like there's a direct result. Like you're not doing anything, are you?
No.
You're not actively. You're doing it just for what it is. That people, it's the first thing to go, isn't it? It's a bit like that with schools, where I'm sure when you went to school, we used to have a lot of compulsory physical stuff that I could have done without. But if you nudge, a lot of that's been nudged out for IT things, and people haven't really seen the importance of it. It just levels your brain, gets you through the day, doesn't it? And you just takes out all the peaks, not the peaks, the kind of the nastier sort of extreme bits. You just kind of feel much more relaxed and peace of mind and everything. It's
that you realise that knot that you've got after you've just been for a walk, or you've just go for a walk for a minute, for 20 minutes. When you come back, you're just like, oh yeah, Oh, that feels like it's a bit smaller. That's
Yeah.
very nice. Yeah, I can focus a bit more on things now.
Yeah.
And it's such an easy thing. It's such an easy thing to do. And I've been one of those people that haven't done it. It's only been recently that I've started doing it.
You've seen a difference, I'm sure. Haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because what I like, it's a summer thing, but I like nothing more than like maybe even 4 or 5 hours on a bike. And the first hour is me having arguments with people who aren't there, or settling old scores, verbally, or so that's the first hour taken care of. But then the next hour might be singing, and then generally, eventually, by the time I've done 4 or 5 hours, I am extremely level, and it feels very sort of, and it is, I wouldn't be without it. Really, it totally transforms a day.
Oh God, yeah. It's funny about that argument thing. When I've done that, and I've realised I've really annoyed myself, and this person doesn't even know I'm thinking about them.
Yeah, that's it. It's totally wasted effort because they probably didn't mean whatever they did anyway.
No.
It's sort of, it's funny because I think maybe it's a male thing of our age, but there was a show a really good show, but it was recommended on Facebook quite a bit. Mr. In Between. Have you seen it? It's about an Aussie.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Hitman.
Yes.
It's great, but I think one of the reasons why it really appeals to men over 40 is because it's basically about somebody who doesn't take any shit and just kills people he disagrees with, isn't it? So it's almost like we're vicariously thinking, yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, just beat the shit out of someone who just annoys me.
Yeah, you kind of, you sort of think, he's sort of doing it on your behalf, isn't it? But there's loads of times where you have that feeling, which isn't a bad thing, is it? It's just you've got to know how to vent it without it. If you, as you say, the other person doesn't really know what's going on and probably didn't mean that. So
No.
It's just a question of stopping, making sure you don't internalize it and just, increase the size of some tumor or something that's already going on.
Yeah, I think that I get so bogged down with stuff that doesn't matter. Just that.
Yeah.
But I think that if I'm in a good mood, not so much. Then I'm kind of. I mean, it's easy to let things go when I'm in a good mood, which I guess comes back to go for your walk, put an album on that you want to listen to, ride your bike, have a sandwich, whatever. Just do something that's treat yourself.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. But Liam Gallagher said that. Liam Gallagher in an interview years ago, because he used to run every morning, and he said he has to go for a run at 5 a.m. Otherwise, his brain is just spaghetti, and he just has to run. And in his head, he's going, "Yeah, that fucker's going to get it," and then I'm going to get on that. I'm going to say that. And then by the time he got back, he was chilled and didn't want to shout at anybody.
Yeah, that's great. I suppose also as you get older, you know what you need and what works for you, don't you? And so there's no point fighting that. I hope Dave Thompson doesn't mind me quoting a joke of his, which I think is great, but it sort of sums up a little bit. I'm sure he won't mind. If he does, I'll cut it out. But he used to have a line where he'd say to a woman in the front row, obviously this is 10 years ago, so he'd say, "You're looking very attractive this evening, madam. Either that or I forgot to masturbate this morning."
Oh my God.
And it's sort of, but there's a certain truth to it, isn't there? There's a certain truth to it, which is your mental state changes. You could do physical things to change your mental state. And that's the sort of truth of that joke. So outrageous that it is.
Do you know, it's funny. I had a bit of this is a bit personal. Talking about that, I was having a bit of a bit of a panic attack last night. I was just panicking about things like we're about to have a baby, and I was a bit worried.
How far off are you?
Literally a day. It's about to come.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, and then I was panicking about my age, and I was just panicking about this, that, and the other, money and whatever else. And I just was like, I just need to calm down. So I did. Yeah, I went in the bathroom.
Well, yes. I mean, it's sort of. Yes, be kind to yourself.
Well,
I didn't know it was that imminent, Rich. I didn't know it was that imminent.
Yeah, ready to go. So
any day now, you could be on a ferry with a passport, tying your hair, starting a new life.
Yeah.
This could be the last edition of this podcast. couldn't
This is
You'd
it.
be on
Yeah,
the
this is
run.
my sayonara.
Hey, that's great though. That's sort of
Yeah.
that's going to be quite something, isn't it?
I'm genuinely excited about it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. I just had a moment last night.
Yeah,
It's funny. Do you know what? And it did help. I was very chilled. But so last week I was walking to a gig with my friend, and I said, I don't know why, but I do. I feel anxious about this, and I didn't really know why. And he said to me, he goes, have a banana, buy a banana. So I bought a banana, and when I peeled it, it fell out. So I lost my banana.
Well, onto the pavement.
Yeah,
That's great. That's a real sort of omen, isn't it?
Yeah. And then my friend pointed out, he said, well, he goes, yeah, because he goes, you peel it like a psychopath. He goes, you absolutely peeled the whole thing down. And then
What's he saying? You should just do the top
just
little
do
bit.
a bit. I don't know how he eats
You have to be careful as a heterosexual bloke. You have to be careful that you don't make it look too sort of tender and like you really know what you're doing with something that shape.
Do you know what? I don't mind if someone needs me.
No,
to...
I don't. I was only
no, I know.
if they don't. Yeah, but
if someone needs me to peel their banana, fine.
Well, the way the business is going, that might be one of the things you do. You do the gig and then you hang around afterwards and you take in sew some buttons on and do a few sexual favours for people. And it's a whole package, isn't it? You know?
Peel a few fellas' bananas.
Yes. Give me a light at 18. Yeah.
I've got 2 minutes to peel a banana. Oh, God.
Yeah.
So how have you found things after the lockdowns? We're a couple of years away from those now. How have you found it? Are you?
Yeah, I was a bit. I'll tell you what. I was a bit. I'm sort of back to a slightly reduced normality, I suppose. But I was annoyed with myself. You know, when you think you're in, well, there's no real such thing as free will, I don't think, because I never used social media before lockdown started. And about sort of day 2, I just drifted onto Facebook, and then suddenly I'd be spending several hours a day just arguing with people I'd never actually met about things that we weren't going to change each other. Yeah, absolutely. And there are other people like the excellent Mark Simmons, and he just used it to continually just put out little bits of quality.
Yeah.
On just transmit and build up a following. So he's like now touring. Whereas I didn't do any of that. I just used it to argue with strangers. And you know, it took me probably a year of arguing with strangers before I don't do that anymore. But it's just like, I was surprised at how little control I had over it, you know, how unconstructed it was. So in a way, I enjoyed the first one. It sounds bad, the first lockdown, partly because the roads were so empty.
No, I loved it.
But then I did feel quite infantilized by it later on, because it felt like when people would say there'd be rumours that it was coming to an end in a fortnight, I'd be thinking, I can't possibly be ready to do anything in a fortnight, you know. So I don't know. I think it's sort of I don't know quite. It seems to almost like it never happened now, doesn't it? It's a very strange. Subsequent. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd like to think I'd do something more constructive with it again, but I guess we'll probably. The good thing is we're going to have other global pandemics, so we'll get to have another go at it, won't we, and be a bit more productive.
Yeah, I think we'll be ready. We've got all the equipment now, so now we're more ready.
Yes, no, absolutely.
We're more prepared.
Yeah.
I find social media. I've got a really weird relationship with social media. I know we need it. And I know people keep saying, "Oh, put stuff out. You got to put stuff out. Keep putting stuff out." But I'm just in that mindset of, but if we're all just putting stuff out, who's watching it? So obviously someone is, but
no, totally.
Yeah.
I've deleted Twitter or X or whatever now because I didn't really use it, but about once a week I'd drift onto it, and I'd end up just clicking and going and spending 2 hours on it, and I'd be sort of definitely angrier than when I went on.
Yes.
And I'd see all these people who weren't really just bickering at each other.
Yeah.
But it nonetheless is hypnotic and it's hard to avoid doing it. But I couldn't see that I was getting anything out of it at all. I think with Facebook, I've sort of found my place on it, and I have certain people that I rib, and likewise the other way and stuff. But with Twitter, it just seems to be a very angry place, and I don't. You end up disliking people you like in real life, or thinking that so it's not free will that makes people use it, I think, as much as compulsion. So
yes,
maybe I'm just an old guy and I don't realise, but it doesn't seem to work for me.
I deleted the app. I've still got it, and I click into it. I have to click into it through my browser now. So I have a brief look, and I'll post something, and then I'll come out of it, which is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to engage, and the thing you're doing is what social media wants. Like, it wants that engagement. It wants you shouting at each other, and I definitely feel better not looking at it so much, especially X or Twitter, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I found myself on there the other day. I was on there 5 minutes, and there was that actor Reece Dinsdale was in an argument with a woman who'd been horrifically racist. She was, and I looked at her comments, and I'm like, I don't need to see this. This is awful.
Yeah.
Not him. He dealt with it brilliantly, but she was horrific.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I suppose before social media, the world was full of people we don't like. Probably I don't like most people in the world. But without social media, it's just like, yeah, all right, there's loads of people I don't like, but it doesn't matter because we're never going to interact, are we?
No.
And now it's like a couple of clicks and you can be just finding, and it feeds you enraging things, doesn't it? Because that's the thing that keeps you hooked. But it's funny, like on the train, and maybe from Worthing as well, I think I'm of an age where if I've got nothing to do, I'd always rather just sit there like that, looking out the window. Like, that's that viaduct, isn't there, just before you get to Haywards Heath?
Yes.
And that's like, I always look at that, and I always look at one of the houses in the valley to see whether it's for sale or not.
I love that house. I love it. And it's tucked away on its own.
Yeah.
I love that.
I saw a sign once, and I thought it's for sale. When I had a chance to look at it properly, it was a Vote Brexit sign. It wasn't. But the idea that I'd be just staring at my phone during that journey seems like, I don't know, I just can't get my head around it. So in a way, it should free up loads of time. But I don't think, if it's not good for you and it isn't, you have to kind of back away, don't you?
Especially when I'm on a train, and especially if I'm on a train and I've not been that way before. There's a gig right the way up up towards Lake Windermere. I can't remember. It's where the Laurel and Hardy Museum is.
Kendal.
Yes,
Ulverston.
Right. Ulverston. It's Ulverston.
Yeah,
run by brilliant Dave, and it's a brilliant gig. And the journey to Ulverston on the train, when you get up that end, is beautiful. You're going along the lakes, and I remember doing it. I was coming back, so it was early in the morning, so the sun hadn't been up very long, and it was beautiful. And I'm like, I'm so glad I looked at that and didn't just look at some bullshit on Twitter.
I like the idea that you might have been ignoring the window, but looking at Google images of the Lake District as the train went through the Lake District. So lost to it.
Well, I'd love to go there one day. As it's whizzing by the window.
Yes, yeah.
but it's beautiful up there. Round Lake Windermere is incredible, and it's stunning countryside up there. And so being up there and actually taking the time, funnily enough, that when I go into London on the train, I always sit so I can go when we go over the viaduct. I see that house. Weird.
Yeah.
It's weird that we both do that. Just yeah.
So I think I found the road once that meanders past it, but yes, it's a lovely little setup, isn't it? I always think as well, this is a bit more negative perhaps, that because there's often party conferences there. If you wanted to take out a leader, the first go is one of the legs of the viaduct, isn't it? When because they come down on a train as a rule. If you knew which one it was, you take out one of those legs. That's the end of that. And failing that, get an apartment in that very tall tower block in the middle of Brighton for a sniper point.
Yes,
and
just take them out.
Yeah, but the viaduct is the thing that would, if you took that viaduct out, you'd get the train, and that'd be it.
And you'd be able to watch it from your house.
Build a new UK.
Well, on that note, it's a wonderful way to finish. Speaking of social media, Are you on? Is there anywhere people can find you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm on. Do you know what? The best thing to do is just if you go to danevans.info as a website. I've just my books. I've got my little crime fiction book selling website, which is that, and it's got links to Instagram and Facebook. I've started putting things on Instagram more out of obligation, but I'm going to do 2 little things a day of something or other. Excellent. But yeah, there's more about me there. But also, I've got a couple of little daft crime fiction books that I sell after gigs, and you could buy them. And if you start reading them and don't break the spine of the book, and conclude you don't like them after a couple of pages, then you can give them to someone as a gift, can't you? This Christmas, someone you don't really like. So that's my tip. Start reading books without breaking the spine, because then you can pass them on as a gift. That's
a great idea. Well, my dad taught me that early on when reading the book. So now I read books like I'm sneakily reading them, because I don't want to. He just drummed it into me not to break the spine. And you will be with us. You're going to be with us in Tunbridge Wells on the December the 17th. It's a lovely gig. It's a really nice gig.
Yeah, that's actually it's a lot more local than you think, isn't it? Tunbridge Wells to Brighton.
Yeah,
just
only
an hour. Up the doodah and you're there. Yeah,
easy,
sweet.
And it's a lovely gig, Dan. You're going to have a great time. Tickets are flying out, so if you're listening to this, you want to come and see us, better get your skates on, because the tickets are almost sold. So get on that. That'd be great. Dan, this has been lovely. Thank you so much, mate.
Yeah, Rich. Well, absolutely. And congratulations with the imminent,
Thank you. I might call him that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll just say this one thing. The Onion spoof newspaper?
Yes.
They used to sell merchandise, and one of the things they sold was a T-shirt for a baby, and it just said on the front, "I ruined a perfectly good band."
I love that.
That was so sweet, yeah.
I love that. Oh, Dan, thank you for that, mate. And thank you for listening to us. This has been Insane in the Membrane. I've been Rich Wilson. This has been Dan Evans. And we'll see you next time.
Insane in the Membrane.